Hello, good evening. Welcome to Look North. Our region remembers. Tributes to the Queen as books of condolence are opened in public buildings across our region. Thank you for sending in so many of your memories of meeting the Queen. We'll share some of your thoughts tonight. We'll also look at how our schools, churches and cities are marking a week of national mourning and a bank holiday on the day of the funeral. A dress fit to meet the Queen, memories of a very special and nerve-wracking day.
The Queen's there, and you start shaking, my legs were shaking, and I was so nervous.
Once again, it's St. Leger Day at Doncaster Racecourse, and a crowd of about 250,000 gives a warm welcome to Her Majesty the Queen.
And looking back through the archives as Yorkshire's racing community reflects on the Queen's lifelong passion for horses.
And the promise of more sunshine tomorrow. I'll be back later in the programme with all the very latest.
Hello, thanks for your company this evening. People across our region are paying their own tributes to Queen Elizabeth, with thousands signing books of condolence, attending special services, and many of you have also been contacting us here at Look North. Tonight we'll hear some more of your stories and look at how churches, councils and schools are preparing to mark a full week of national mourning. Churches have become the focus for many to gather, with some extending their opening hours. In the coming week, there will be special services at York, Halifax, Bradford and Rotherham Minster, amongst many others. On Sunday, people can pay their respects in the cathedrals of Sheffield and Bradford, and there'll also be multi-faith vigil at the Civic Hall in Leeds. Now, as with all the services, we're told everyone is welcome. We've also had confirmation today that on the day of the funeral itself, live coverage will be shown on a big screen at Millennium Square in Leeds from 9 in the morning and at Bradford Cathedral. Thousands have signed the many books of condolence, which have been opened at places of worship, also at town halls and other civic buildings, as well as online. We've been to meet some people in Leeds today who took the opportunity to express their feelings.
We're just very sad. It's like losing a member of the family, and we knew she loved us and we loved her.
She's been there all our lives, and you just get this really great sense of loss, and that you've really lost someone.
She's been a constant reminder of a mother, a grandmother, and a leader of state who's been there throughout, and being consistent and beautiful.
To take on the role of a queen at 25 years old was such a massive thing. So yeah, very, very, very sad.
It is amazing to see that so many people regard her as a kind of unifying power, and that is brilliant to have it.
We're going to take a look now at the official events, if you like, and how they will unfold. Tonight, the Queen lies in rest at St Giles's Cathedral in Edinburgh, where the public are able to view her coffin for the first time. At 2 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, the coffin will leave the cathedral to be flown to RAF Northolt. It will then travel by road to Buckingham Palace, accompanied by Princess Anne. On Wednesday afternoon, the Queen's coffin will be taken to the Palace of Westminster, accompanied by a military parade and members of the royal family. Her Majesty will lie in state at Westminster Hall until the morning of her funeral on Monday, allowing members of the public to file past and pay their respects. Well, schools have been advised to hold special assemblies and lessons this week to commemorate the Queen. Her death has raised lots of questions from children. Mine want to know what will happen to the pocket money and the stamps. All valid questions, aren't they? Phil Bodmer has been speaking to teachers and pupils in Keighley as they paid tribute today.
If you see her face is iconic. Very few people in the world would not recognise who the Queen was.
Morning assembly for Year 11s at Carlton Keighley Academy. A range of faiths are represented among the 700 plus students here. The school says it's important that young people understand the history we're currently living through.
It's making that connection between the Queen and the young people in the school, because we want them to embody all the things that the Queen embodied. And it's the duty that the Queen had to the country that we want the students to have the duty to the school, to themselves and to education, so they can further their careers.
For anyone under the age of 70, the Queen is the only monarch they've ever known. For students like Simona, Tina and Alfie, there's also a sense of optimism but pragmatism about what a new era may bring.
The King, I think he will try and do his best, especially that he thinks about diversity as well as a school. We think about diversity, and we really respect that we have someone to actually be our head of state.
I believe that the monarchy in England is mostly symbolic. I know that they have a purpose, but it's the government that mostly runs this country. We haven't had a lot of queens in England, and since Queen Elizabeth's been there for quite a long time, it's weird to consider that in my lifetime we might never have a queen again.
I know that, he's not Prince Charles anymore, is he? He's King Charles, is quite, he values the environment, which is something that we all value quite a lot. And I think that that's exciting because maybe he could bring the country together on just such an important issue.
When you talk about diversity, it's really important to emphasise the things that we share, those kind of shared kind of British values. And the Queen really embodied those things about how we treat each other with respect, how we behave with a sense of duty and purpose and that kind of moral duty. But obviously the Queen helps to just kind of snap those things into focus for us about how we treat each other with respect and how, you know, we do the right thing because it's the right thing to do, and we have that civic duty, which I think is incredibly important.
The Queen provided a sense of constancy in a world of bewildering change. For these young people, learning to understand, acknowledge and appreciate that continuity today may help to shape them as adults for tomorrow. Phil Bodmer, BBC Look North, Keighley.
Well, schools will close a week today after a bank holiday was approved by King Charles for the funeral of Queen Elizabeth. So what exactly does that mean? Hannah Gray is here. Hopefully you can clear in some of the blanks here. So schools and workplaces will be closed, is that right?
Yes, some of them. So as employees, we're not entitled to a day off for a bank holiday. It's down to employers. Some companies will choose to close, but not all of them. So we're all encouraged to get in touch with our boss and find out whether or not we're expected to come in. But schools and colleges, as you said, will be closed, Amy. I did wonder whether some might open in a limited capacity to help out those parents who do have to work, but I haven't yet heard back from our local councils. Other childcare providers like nurseries, they'll be getting in touch with parents, letting people know whether or not they'll be open on Monday in the coming days.
And what about shops, doctors' surgeries, other services like that?
Well, Amy, this evening GP surgeries have been told that they can close. So if you were due to have an appointment on Monday, that is supposed to be rescheduled as soon as possible, ideally within the next 2 weeks. But GP surgeries have to make sure that out-of-hours emergency care is there if it's needed. Some shops have already announced that they will be closing. So we've heard from John Lewis and Waitrose, from Primark, from Homebase. They're all definitely going to close. And the big supermarkets, they haven't announced their exact hours, but they're likely to be doing reduced hours as they normally would do on a bank holiday. Now, lots of our viewers will have been excited for the BBC Radio 2 live event at Temple Newsome this weekend. That's not going to be going ahead out of respect for the Queen. And other things worth mentioning, Royal Mail has announced its postal services will be suspended. And what about council services? Well, we've heard this afternoon from the Leeds Council leader.
So between now and Sunday, council services will continue, as everybody knows and expects in Leeds, at the level they always are. Now that Monday's been confirmed as a bank holiday, we'll be working on the plans about what services will be running on Monday, or if there's going to be changes, what they'll be, and we'll let people know about those later in the week.
And there's more changes to sporting fixtures as well. We'll have more on that a little bit later in the programme. What about the coronation? I know we're looking ahead here, but are we expecting a bank holiday for that?
We don't know yet, Amy. The government have said that a decision will be made nearer the time. In fact, we don't have a date yet for the coronation. What we do know is that this Sunday night at 8 p.m, there'll be a national minute silence across the nation. Amy.
Hannah, thank you. Well, she wasn't just the Queen of Great Britain. Elizabeth II was also head of the Commonwealth. She reached out to subjects from all walks of life and so many different communities. Sabia Pervez has been to meet people in Leeds and Bradford with fond memories of Her Majesty.
This is the dress I wore when I been to see the Queen.
Unzipping a memory that'll be treasured forever. Sharon Lal was invited to Buckingham Palace in 2019 for the work she does with isolated South Asian women. She remembers that day vividly.
I said, the Queen's there. And you start shaking, my legs were shaking and I was so nervous. She stood there nearly an hour and a half maybe, shaking hand with everybody. You know, it was amazing, and I thought, what an amazing lady. I wanted to touch his toes, you know, like your Indian people do. And I thought, no, better not, because, you know, she might think, what's she doing on the floor? And she says, oh, keep up the good work. She says, it's amazing what you do. She says, yeah. I said, yeah, thank you.
When Miss Rall heard the Queen had died, she was devastated. Now she reflects on how significant that meeting was for her.
And then the news about 6 o'clock, I sat here and I cried. I just cried. Being immigrant, meeting Queen, and when we looked around in that room and thought, yeah, we are proud to be here.
The Queen had this effect on everyone she encountered. At a Sikh prayer service held for Her Majesty, Dr. Kuldeep Barge describes the moment she met Queen Elizabeth II.
She was my icon, and I started feeling goose pimples, meeting the Queen. It was just exhilarating, and I think she's a phenomenal example to all women. It was really saddening, and it took me back to how I felt when I lost my mother. So I feel as if I've lost my mother all over again.
So what I've got for you here is some images of my grandfather when he met Queen Elizabeth.
Haroon Habib's late grandfather moved to Bradford in the 60s. He founded a traditional Asian sweet shop. Abdul Rahman's dedication earned him an invitation to meet the Queen.
It's just something that's always going to stay within me, something that you can't forget. And obviously it's behind me on the wall every single day to have a look at.
Upon meeting Her Majesty, Abdul Rahman presented the Queen with a bespoke box full of traditional Asian sweets. That moment is now a story shared proudly by his descendants as they look forward to the reign of a new monarch.
From what I've seen from King Charles III, we've seen that he wants to continue his mother's legacy, and I see that as a good thing.
As our country continues to mourn the loss of Her Majesty the Queen, it's clear her legacy spans across communities and generations. A monarch who touched so many and continues to inspire. Sabir Pervez, BBC Look North.
Some wonderful memories then. We will have some more of those later in the programme. You are watching Monday's Look North, still to come on tonight's programme. We look ahead at Friday's Super League playoff semi-final and have the latest as another Leeds United match is postponed. Right, let's look at some other news that's coming into our newsroom today. South Yorkshire's Mayor Oliver Coppard says he's identified an aviation consortium interested in buying Doncaster Sheffield Airport. The airport's current owners, Peel Group, announced in July that they were launching a review that could result in it being changed. Oliver Coppard now wants Peel to extend their review period so a sale can be negotiated. Peel say they will carefully consider the offer to buy the airport, but will need more details. Police searching for a woman from North Yorkshire who's been missing for 2 weeks have found a body. 73-year-old Judith Holliday, who had dementia, was last seen walking out of her care home. A body was discovered near a railway line in North Wigton on Saturday. Over 65s can book COVID booster jabs from today, either online or by calling 119. Last week, the jab was given at care homes across the region. The new vaccine targets both the original strain of COVID-19 and the Omicron variant. OK, as promised, we've got sports update for you now with Mark Ansell. Mark, we saw that over the weekend football was cancelled at grassroots level as well. My little boy was very disappointed about that one. You've got more news on cancellations now.
That's right. So, yeah, it was cancelled at grassroots and elite level, which was what was controversial, with children not playing football when they did play all the other sports. As well as that, Leeds United's fixture against Nottingham Forest tonight is off. And we've learnt tonight that their match away at Manchester United on Sunday will also be postponed, and that's after consultation with the police. Now, the context here is that about 10,000 police officers are expected to be needed in London over the next few days in the run-up to the Queen's funeral on Monday. So that's 2 leagues games that will need rescheduling. Now, the English Football League, so that's the Championship, League One and League Two, will return tomorrow with 7 of our clubs in action. A minute's silence will take place before those matches. There'll be the national anthem played before the games. The players will wear black armbands and flags will be held at half-mast. It's yet to be decided when these fixtures will be rescheduled, but what we do know is that Leeds Rhinos will be in action on Friday in the Super League playoff semi-finals on Friday. It's after they beat Catalan's Dragons in their playoff eliminator by 20 points to 10. Liam Sutcliffe starred for the Rhinos, scoring a hat-trick. Meanwhile, Huddersfield Giants went down 28-0 in their playoff eliminator against Salford Red Devils. It leaves the Rhinos as Yorkshire's only team left in the competition.
We went about our game plan early in the game and with some joy. I thought, we're pretty unlucky there this season, no try. But other than that, I thought we went about our business in a really controlled way. And when the crowd started roaring and there was plenty of push and shoves and all that stuff, we really held our calmness, I guess.
As a mark of respect ahead of the new ice hockey season, Sheffield Steelers held a 2-minute silence for the Queen before their match against Cardiff Devils on Saturday night. More than 6,000 fans came to watch the game and to pay tribute. Cardiff won 3-1, but last night the Steelers collected their first 2 points of the season, beating Guildford Flames 4-1. Now, the Queen's favourite sport was, of course, horse racing, and it paid tribute to her yesterday. There was a 2-minute silence at the St Leger meeting at Doncaster, as the world's oldest classic race was run 24 hours later than scheduled as a mark of Well, the Queen was a leading racehorse owner even, and breeder too, winning hundreds of races, including the St Leger in Doncaster. It's a sport she loved all her life, as Paul Ogden reports.
Once again, it's St Leger Day at Doncaster Racecourse, and a crowd of about 250,000 gives a warm welcome to Her Majesty the Queen. So far in her coronation year, the Queen hasn't won a classic, so everyone's hoping that her horse Oriole will pull it off at last.
Queen Elizabeth II, once in situ, didn't wait long before going racing in Yorkshire. In her coronation year, and again 2 years later in 1955, Her Majesty returned for the St Leger, despite an equine epidemic at the time.
Only 8 of the 18 entries have escaped the coughing epidemic. Everyone, including the Queen, has been asking, has Mel, the odds-on favourite, started coughing yet? But on the great day, Lady Zia Werner's handsome filly is safe and sound, and the Queen and the Princess Royal watch her parade with the other 7.
And 50 years later, there were 5 days that many Yorkshire racegoers will cherish just as much. The Royal Ascot meeting was staged, exceptionally, by York's Knavesmire course, whilst Ascot itself was being redeveloped. And Her Majesty came to share her love of racing with Yorkshire.
So everything moved up north to York, and this house, Bishopthorpe, became the sort of Queen's base. So she stayed here. House was available to her, and her love of Yorkshire is well known. Her love of horse racing is even better known.
Her subjects turned up in their tens of thousands, despite poor weather at first.
There was clearly a huge pride in Yorkshire. There was, I think, a sensible huge pride in being British, but there was other international guests here as well. And I think it's maybe a little bit different in the racing context, because she's so well known as being a racehorse owner, being so knowledgeable about racehorses. So almost people felt there was a different connection again. She was kind of one of them, but of course not quite one of them. But it was tremendous.
Paul Ogden, BBC Look North.
Some more fabulous archive images there as well. All weekend you've been contacting us to share your memories of meeting the Queen. Here's one of them. It's a beautiful picture, isn't it? Thank you for sending them in. Please keep them coming. We're going to hear a few more of your stories now, from being lifted over the barriers at just 6 years old to handing flowers to the Queen to getting invited down to Buckingham Palace itself.
I remember I was on holiday when I was 6 in the Isles of Scilly with my family. And we heard that the Queen was coming, and I remember we were stood behind a metal barrier, and the police officer came over to my parents and I and asked if I would like to meet the Queen, and obviously I jumped at the opportunity. It is a memory that will stay with me for life.
I was invited to a reception hosted by the Queen at Buckingham Palace in 2018, and this was to recognise the contribution of the Commonwealth in the UK. The Queen was warm and smiley and made everyone feel at ease. She seemed genuinely grateful for everybody's contribution. It was a magical night.
I was invited to Buckingham Palace. That was Queen's Diamond Jubilee reception, and I felt very honoured, and she seemed very welcoming. These are very, very, very special and dear to me, those memories. When I heard this news, it feels like a family bereavement to me.
So I sort of said, "Good afternoon, Your Majesty. Did you enjoy your visit to the Royal Armouries?" And she turned and she smiled and she said, "Oh yes, thank you, I did." Oh, I said, "Did you see the jousting horses? Were they well shod?" She laughed. She said, "Well, I didn't inspect their feet." But she said, "Why did you ask that?" I said, "Well, it was my son, Scott, who shot them." She laughed and she, quick as a flash, she came back. Well, she said, "In that case, they would be well shod."
We went through into the Winter Gardens, which is what she'd come to do, to unveil the great big boulder. The crowds were amazing. They were cheering and the Queen's face just lights up. You can see the genuine thrill on her face when she meets people. She's just so truly amazing and so inspiring and so unselfish in everything that she does. She just was an amazing lady.
Oh, some great stories there. Thank you. Please keep them coming in. Also, have you met the new King Charles during one of his many visits to our region as Prince of Wales? If you have, then do get in touch with us. You can email us look.north@bbc.co.uk, or you can send us a message on Facebook at BBC Yorkshire. I was lucky enough to see him at the Yorkshire Show last year with my children. They were very excited.
I'm sure they were. Now, it's been lovely across Scotland today. We've seen plenty of sunshine, but rather more cloud in our part of the world. So I've chosen some pictures from across the weekend, at least the first couple. Some choppy-looking sea there at sunrise on Sunday in Scarborough. And actually, lots of your pictures were of sunrise on Sunday. Some lovely colours. I've chosen this one from Skipton, a little bit of mist in the valley there, some lovely colours. And the third picture, leaden skies, although you can barely see them, Falkirk near Barnsley this afternoon. You can keep your pictures coming in to the Weather Watchers page, or you can tweet me at Keely Donovan, or I'm on Instagram to Keely.Donovan. So yes, rather brighter skies in store for tomorrow. Fine, in fact, with plenty of sunshine, just a little bit of fair weather cloud through the afternoon. And the settled weather is down to this area of high pressure, which is building in from the west. It'll gradually edge eastwards through the next few days, but it will introduce a northerly breeze, so it will become cooler through the second half of the week, particularly on Thursday and especially Friday. It looks like temperatures will be well below average for the time of year. There's been a lot of cloud around today. There's been outbreaks of rain, as you can see from the radar here, but we have already started to see some clearer skies, some cloud breaks across parts of North Yorkshire, and those will sink southwards through this evening. A fine night with long clear spells, but because of the moisture and the clear skies, a little bit of patchy mist and fog is possible, and it will be much cooler than last night. Last night we only dropped back to around 15 or 16 degrees, so it'll feel much cooler at 8 or 9 degrees. Let's take a quick look at those high water times then. In Bridlington just before 7 o'clock and at around about 6:30 in Whitby. So tomorrow, dry and fine, plenty of sunshine, any early mist and fog quickly lifting. Plenty of sunshine through the morning, remaining dry with a good deal of sunshine through the afternoon. Just some patchy fair weather cloud bubbling up through the course of the afternoon. Temperatures a smidge lower than today's values, getting up to 19 or 20 degrees. A fine morning on Wednesday, more cloud building for the afternoon. Breezy with a few showers on Thursday, those showers returning at times on Friday, and those temperatures taking a tumble, Amy.
Thank you very much. That's it from us. We'll be back with more late news a bit later in the evening. Bye-bye for now.